Yo guys, what's up? Nature again. Welcome back to the channel. Today I've got more voltage modular stuff. I'm kind of hooked on it at the moment. This time around I want to kind of do a sort of generative patch, specifically for Psytrance, like kind of metallic FM kind of sounds, but something that's just going to kind of evolve on its own. So let's dive in and take a look. Okay, here we go. So I've just got a resampled bass line and a kick drum from a library from the Future Phonics library, Future Geometrics, great library. You should go check that out if you don't have that. Just to kind of give me a bass to work from. So I've got that in there. So we're going to first, we're going to jump into voltage modular now and try and create some sort of generative leads for this part. Let's get a few things sorted out first. We are going to need some timing modules for the generative side of things. Sync divider. I want to do sort of like a Butchler-esque kind of tones with some FM. So we're going to use the super oscillator. So this one's got a wave folder. A lot of the Butchler or the easel, a lot of the complex oscillator sound comes from the wave folder itself. I'm going to grab another oscillator as well, just in case. We might do some FM stuff with that. And first things first, I want to trigger this from Cubase. I don't want to just have it running indefinitely. So we're going to bring in an amplifier and a envelope generator so that we can play this from the Cubase arrange page. Let's just get this set up first. We've got pitch CV because we're working in, we're going to sort of add our pitch modulation on top of this, but we're going to route the pitch CV in first to kind of set the bass note, and then we'll have it kind of adding stuff on top of that. We're going to need a gate signal running to our envelope generator, and we're going to put that into the CV input on the amplifier. Then we can run our output to the amp and the output to the mains, and there we have it. Just bring that down slightly. Great. So now I can just use a single note at G to kind of give the bass note for the riff that we're going to be doing, and we'll just put in one note like that. Jump back into voltage. So now we need to get some sort of random elements to trigger the pitch, and we'll do some stuff for triggering different gates and things like that as well. First things first, let's do a triple sample and hold. The reason I use this one, it's free and it's got a noise generator built in, so you don't need to patch multiple modules into one another. If you click this noise on, you'll see the input disappears, and now there's an automatic noise inside of this. And then if you are not aware, the sample and hold, basically we're going to put a clock signal into this so that every 16th notes it samples the noise and holds that value, and that's going to give you sort of random steps. So we're going to run the clock out into the trigger, and we're going to connect that to the DAW sync, and then also the player we're going to connect to the reset so that when we restart it from the beginning it's going to sync correctly. So let's just take a listen to this quickly. We'll run the output into the pitch CV and take a listen to what we get. Cool. So we're getting some random vibes there now, but now we need to kind of control this a little bit. So I don't want too much of the lower ones coming through. What I'm going to do is add a threshold module. We're going to run the output of our sample and hold into the threshold, and we set the threshold for about 0. So you can see you're getting signal above and below this threshold now. So these ones are negative voltages because we have this set at 0, and we're only going to be using the positive ones. So we're going to be modulating upwards with the pitch. We're also going to need to sync this to a scale or to quantize it. So we're going to grab a quantize module so that the notes actually make sense and they're not completely out of tune. And we're in G, so we're going to select the G and then grab a minor pentatonic scale. Now what we can do is we can run the over out, so anything above the threshold we can run through the quantizer, and the quantizer we can push through the pitch CV. So this will add CV on top of our bass note that is playing. So let's take a listen now. I think the harmonic minor actually works better in this case. Cool, so we've got our pitch sorted out now. Now we need to do some other stuff here. Let's add a little bit more movement to this. We're actually going to trigger, we're going to use a drum envelope actually. Bring this one in here. And we're just going to run the clock straight into our drum envelope. That's going to trigger every 16th notes as well. And we're going to load up a second amplifier because the first amplifier that we had is just controlling the global on-off for the note that's playing. But I actually want to use a second amplifier to create like a more staccato kind of pattern. So we'll bring that in here. Move these across. And let's run the input of our oscillator into the amplifier, and this amplifier will go into the other amplifier. And this amplifier is going to be controlled by our drum envelope, which we're going to plug in here. And let's take a listen. Cool. Now, more movement. One of my favorite modules again, the Euclidean dual. We're going to grab one of these. We'll bring that in. Send the clock to this so that everything syncs up as well. Hit external. And again, we're going to want to set up the play to the start and stop. We can stop the sequencer when Cubase stops playing. So we're going to grab the trigger from one of these because this is a drum envelope. It's designed to sort of control the 808 modules that you have with Voltage Modular. We're going to run this into the accent to kind of get slightly louder hits as well, according to our Euclidean sequencer. Let's bring the triggers down, and we're going to kind of do like a polyrhythm kind of thing here. We might actually pull the trigger out of the clock in this case, and we'll trigger this to get slightly more sparse triggers. We'll run the second Euclidean sequencer into this to trigger that. Cool, there we have it. So this is just generating random melodies for us now based on the setup that we have here. It'll just continue to kind of generate new ideas constantly. Now we want to kind of work on fine-tuning the sound. So we're going to look at the wave folder now. This brings in some really interesting tones to our oscillator. So let's try and create some slightly different movement here. We'll bring in another sync or a clock divider actually this time. We'll bring in, this is the wrong one. We need the Cheery audio clock divider. We'll just shift these up. So now we've got multiple SNH outputs here. We can run this one, and we'll use a clock divider. So we'll run the 16th notes into the clock divider. We'll divide them by 2, and we'll get 8th notes out. And we can put that into the trigger for the second SNH generator here. And this one we're going to modulate the wave folder a little bit here with some random information as well. Let's take a listen to what we get. Okay, we're going to set this oscillator as well to the note that we have playing in Cubase. And we're going to use this one to bring in some FM on our super oscillator. So let's bring in, maybe take the gate, the under out from our thresholds. We're using existing CV that we already have here. Let's just experiment with this and add this to our FM. So the attenuator is just giving us a little bit more control about how much of that oscillator is going into the... because normally you can control it with this amount here, but seeing as we are mixing it with other signals, we want to just have a little bit more control, so we're using the attenuator to just kind of back off slightly on that. Might actually just try and mix this in as well, so we've got a non-FM tone going in. So let's just plug this directly, just so we got equal amounts. We'll just plug that directly into the amplifier here. And we're going to want to hook up the CV as well, so this plays the same notes that we're doing with the super oscillator. So we've got CV coming from our quantizer. We'll grab another one of these and plug that into our oscillator. Bring in a filter as well. The audio in will run from this amplifier. And we use the bandpass filter so we can send the output to the audio input. we can use the raw out now from the sample and hold to modulate the filter as well. We'll just use the Cool. So we've got some nice gritty metallic tones going on there and completely randomized as well. Now that's all that's left is to kind of go in and maybe add some effects to this. Let's bring in a Valhalla delay. In actual fact, let's try out Supermassive. A little bit chaotic for me, that, so we'll jump back to Valhalla delay again. Last little thing I wanted to do here is kind of turn this into a stereo feed. So let's grab a Pano module and we'll add that in. And we'll run the output, instead of running this to the master, we'll run left and the right to the master here. We'll run the output of this amp into our panning module. And then we can add some... Let's just add a little bit of the SNH as well to our CV mod. Take a listen to what we get. Cool. There you have it. This is a nice idea to get some really random metallic kind of tones, and the modular stuff is just a great way to do these kind of generative things. It's never going to be the same. It'll always kind of generate a new pattern every single time. Just getting a little bit of feedback from something here. That's a Valhalla Freak Echo. It's a little bit too much feedback there. Yeah, and I've been having a ton of fun lately with this, just kind of setting a couple of parameters for your modular and then just let it kind of do its own thing. And just remember as well, if you're going to be doing stuff like this, especially if you're working in the standalone mode and you're kind of doing these generative things, make sure that you hit the record button. So Voltage Modular 2, you can set a folder location here now. So when you're doing little experiments like this, just hit record and just let it constantly go. You can always remove them afterwards, but you might come up with something that you really like. You can always jump back into the audio file, pull that out, sample it, whatever. So yeah, that's another little Voltage Modular patch, this time for Psytrance stuff. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Once again, if you like these videos, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and the notifications as always. I will catch you guys soon right here on the channel again. Cheers.